Hi guys, right now we're going to do a non-sterile compound. This is something that is quick and easy at the pharmacy and you may get several prescriptions for. So before I get started, I am working on a stone non-porous surface, so we'll be cleaning that with alcohol. I'm going to go ahead and do that because we need it to dry. So I just apply some to a paper towel, that's fine. It is 70% alcohol, and then we just wipe down the area we're going to be working on. And of course, give it some good scrubs. And then, like you saw in your sterile compounding, I flip it over and I start from back to front and I make a zigzag overlapping, going back to front, so I know I've pretty much brought everything forward and it's sterile base. Now when we do this in class, you guys will be working on wax paper or compounding paper, so that'll be a little different. Okay, getting ready, I'm just gonna show you my supplies here real quick. Here are jars. This is a 1 ounce. It is empty in the bottom, but inside, so it goes halfway up. This is a 1 ounce ointment jar. This is a 2 ounce ointment jar. It's solid all the way through. And then this is a 4 ounce ointment jar. Today, what we're gonna be making, we're gonna be using the 2. So I'll set those others out of the way. Now, spatula-wise, it depends on what you like to use. These are all sterilized and ready to go for compounding. There are smaller versions of this one. It looks like just a cake icer. A lot of people like working with this. Some people like this one to push it around more, and then they've got the tip to spiral in. And some people just like the rubber, good old spatula that's never ends, so you can spread and push and smear and mix. So it's kind of up to you and what you have in your pharmacy. Before I get started, I've got my compound log sheet, and I'll show you in the end how we fill it out. So I've got that all ready to go, and I have my 2 ingredients. So what the doctors ordered is some clotrimazole cream and hydrocortisone cream. This is very common. It's also often used in baby diaper rash. Sometimes they'll add zinc in, and sometimes it's just used for stubborn yeast infections, and topical skin creams is what this is for. So like underarms, under skin folds that are having a hard time to heal. So open your boxes, but save them for when you're filling out your compound sheet. Some people like to fill out the compound sheet before, just to make sure they've got everything correct, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this part done. So here's my big tip of the trade. Some people like to open it on the end and squeeze it out. These are usually sealed, so you just pop that open and squeeze it out. I personally don't. I like to milk it really hard down to the end, and then I just snip off the bottom. What you're gonna do is you're gonna try to put everything just right by each other and just squeeze everything out of the tube and kind of bend it down. If you've ever worked with a toothpaste tube, just squeeze that on out and just get that all out. Now, if it's a pretty big tube, sometimes you have to open this end and cut that and squeeze the rest out of the top. So I guarantee I've gotten almost everything entirely out of this tube. Okay, and we're gonna repeat and do the same procedure with this one. Always milk it and make sure it's mixed up well. It's so much easier to do it than having a bunch of water run out of your tube, which does happen sometimes. Cut off the end, snip the end off, and then bring it right next to your other ingredient. What we're going to do is kind of eyeball and match quantities also, and that also lets you know if you've got your tube all cleaned out. So I've got that end done. I kind of have my crimp there, so I'm taking the lid off. We're just going to pop the end open a little bit, and then I do that final squeeze down and get that last little bit out. Okay, and our 2 piles look pretty equal. So I personally am going to just use my rubber spatula, and I slowly just mix them together. They have a little different consistencies, so I can honestly see how well this is mixing. And in the lab, we may use a little color, food color, and that way you'll be able to see how you mix. I just work it around and flatten it all out, spread it to the middle, and I know this is kind of what the mixer does, but we want to make sure it's equal, so I just kind of keep. Notice quite a bit of it is stuck on my, so you always want to remember to smush that off and work that into your mixture again. And about the time you think you've got it mixed, go for another 15 seconds. And I'm gonna do a zigzag back and forth with the little swirls because that works out my ends. Bring everything back to the middle. All right, and I can tell from the consistency now that everything's pretty equal. Now, of course, there's always somebody waiting because you never know for sure if they're gonna want it or not. I try to get everything I possibly can off high up on my. So I take my vial, and sometimes smaller is better on this, but I know that this is pretty creamy and pretty smooth, so I'm gonna swipe it down and slowly fill this vial in. And just a little tap as it works down to the bottom. So it's easier to work slow and tap out those air bubbles. In Compound Lab, they used to yell at us for making little noises and thumping. I say if it keeps your air bubbles out, go for it. And see how it's just settling nicely into the bottom? We're just gonna feel all those air bubbles in. Nobody wants a big old air bubble in there. Next. All right, scrape the last of it in. All right, so as you can see, I'm not quite there. I'm kind of just make a little swirl. This is the amazing part. Take your finger. The music is getting really dramatic too because it's so exciting. Take your finger, because you've sterilized your hands. And when you do chemotherapy, you will have your gloves on. For this, we do not, because I did wash my hands thoroughly. And always just go along your countertop. It's amazing what you can still pick up. Now, this will not be all the way full, because when you go to the spirals, or where the screws on the lid actually are, that's a full job. So I've got a nice smooth surface, and it comes equal to my lids. And I'm gonna take my paper towel and add just another touch of alcohol to it. And we're gonna wipe around the bottom here. So the alcohol is just cutting the cream and making your jar nice and pretty. And that feels so much better. And I'm gonna slide that on. So you have any, sometimes if you've got it stiff enough, see how smooth that is? They like to call it a DQ quip. This isn't strong enough to, like when you have meringue and you can make like a little swirly curl on top and it looks all fun and neat, but this one isn't stiff enough to do that with. So we've got our cream, and your label will print out. And I just have this, for example, for another one we're using, but then you'll have the patient's name, which is blacked out. You've got the name of the med, the directions, and you have every single ingredient listed separately in their quantity. And then of course the prescription number. So, and then we'll just take that label. You guys will have this. Of course, this one isn't printed on. You're gonna center that, apply your label. Now, on your label, it will also have an expiration. And there's also another sign, so we're gonna say expires 30 days out. So we're gonna put 3/17/21 on this. And this is RX 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And of course my initial. And we also might put some tape over it, just protect it, because when the people are handling this is gonna be greasy. So that's what the patient's actually gonna get. You clean up your workspace, which I love stone and just a little bit of alcohol, and it whips right up. Your paper, you know, we'll just crumple it and throw it away. So that also is a fast cleanup. But most counters in pharmacies are made for this, because originally we used to do a ton of compounding and now we don't. Okay, now we saved our boxes, and this is an over-the-counter item, and so is this. However, it can be billed as a prescription. And what we're gonna do, so on the first part, we've put Main Street Medical Pharmacy, and then we put the name of the ingredient: clotrimazole, 1% cream, hydrocortisone, 1% cream. And then down here, I'm the person compounding, but that's where you would enter your name. And then the pharmacist checking you, they would enter the name. When you have everything put out in your creams laid side by side, some pharmacists would want to come check before you open, check when you've got them side by side, after mix, and check once you put them in the bottle. So they would just briefly oversee to make sure everything just kind of eyeballing looks like what they expect it to be. Now here we've entered the clotrimazole cream, the company that made it, basically the lot number, the expiration date on the package, and then how much we applied. Down at the bottom, it's not a batch. There's no batch expiration date, but we did put mix equal parts or 1-to-1. Well, expiration date is 3/17/2021 or 30 days out. RX number is this number. I also like to take one of the parts of the stickers and slap it on there too, so that the inspector can totally see what the patient was given with their information. But this will go in the compounding log and stay forever in a day. Where I got that information was, for example, on the hydrocortisone. I love this because my cat's coming to help me. Thanks. And so here's my hydrocortisone cream. Flip it around to the back and it tells you your percentage right there. And then we're gonna look, it's Nature Plex, and where it was made, so if it finds the city. And then on the ends is where you're gonna get your lot number and the expiration date from right there, okay? So that's on both boxes. Boxes you're gonna keep, don't throw them away, same thing. On the back, it's also from Natureplex. Down here, we've got the name and the address. On the end, we've got our lot number and expiration date. You've got to put that on the information. Okay, there you have it, and we're off to dispensing. Thank you.